Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Tuesday night, the 2nd of March, 2021. Did you get up early to watch My Three Sons, Joe?
I got the last 10 minutes, believe it or not. I woke up and I did watch the final 10 minutes. I had to see Fred McMurray's look when Zsa Zsa knocked at his front door.
Yeah. On
No,
the
no, when I watched that episode, I was reminded of the Andy Griffith show that was in like the first season or second season where Opie was trying to convince his father, Andy Griffith, that he met a guy who could climb telephone poles, had a steel hat on his head,
right.
talked with a strange accent, Mr. McBeevy.
I remember that
And
episode. Yeah.
Mr. and Andy Griffith was fully under the impression that Opie was telling a lie. And he told Opie it's not good to tell a lie. And Opie said, "But I'm not telling a lie, Pa. I'm not." And it was the same thing here with Ernie telling Fred McMurray, "I'm not telling you a lie, Dad. I meant Miss Zsa Zsa." and, and and it was great to see the look again on Fred McMurray's face when he opens the door, and there all of a sudden in front of him is Zsa Zsa Gabor in all of her glory. I had to get up to see that. I just had to. I remember that from all those years ago.
Yes.
And if none of you out there who are not into that old time TV stuff don't like it, I'm sorry.
Too
But
bad. So sad. Get over it.
there.
The Joe and Joe Weather Show is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware. Not only are they Long Island's provider of rock salt when we've got winter storms, but they're getting ready for spring. So they are asking the question, do you have mulch? Because they have mulch and topsoil and sand and everything else. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. 631-756-1135 is the telephone number, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. And also brought to you by a wholesale holiday lighting by. Let me just get them all. Get them all in the frame here, so everybody can see. Wholesale holiday lighting by Giannini at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst. Your complete holiday lighting specialist to meet all your holiday decorating needs, or maybe you want to get into that business. Give them a call at 631-957-5106, and the website is liholidaylighting.com. So, this cold air was pretty fierce, came in. We had those, those strong winds, but everything's been easing as I looked at the observations, and now we're kind of in a smooth sail for the next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So probably the next 8 days of relatively smooth sailing, no rain, no snow, chilly, and then turning warm for a few days next week.
Well, Renata said last night, she said, this is scary. The way the wind was howling last night, it was about as strong a wind that we have heard up here in quite some time. And remember, Joe, what I said yesterday? I said, I know they extended the wind advisory to 4 o'clock this afternoon. And I said, I'm not going to, with all due respect to the folks over at the National Weather Service, but quite frankly, I said yesterday that I thought the worst of it would be last night into maybe early this
All
morning.
right.
And then things were going to flatten out very quickly. And sure enough, they did. And the wind advisory was all gone before noontime today.
Yeah.
So it did work out, thankfully, in that regard, because I don't think we could have put up with those howling winds,
And any and
right on
any
Springfield this
potential
afternoon.
power outages that you might have to deal with.
Well, up here where I am, they spent the better part of this past summer doing a lot of tree clipping, a lot of tree trimming, and in doing so, I think they helped to preclude power outages, at least in my general neighborhood. Because there was a time a few years back, something like what we had last night would have almost certainly have knocked power out. But I think a lot of those trees, having been trimmed, uh, spared us from that, and I think we can probably hopefully we'll be able to do without any worries in terms of large scale wind events like last night, or at least the next 2 or 3 years. Then of course the trees will grow back,
And then they have
and
to do it all over
and then
again.
there'll be another threat of power outages. But it was pretty wild out there last night.
Well, I did notice a little bit of breaking news today. The Hurricane Center was actually considering maybe making the hurricane season officially a little bit longer. Because
Right, like 2 weeks.
right, because if my memory serves, we've had named storms in the month of May. I think 5 out of the last 6 years or something like that. They didn't do that, but apparently they are going to be starting tropical weather outlooks in the Atlantic on May 15th rather than on June
Yeah,
1st. So
right.
I guess somebody said no, you can't change the seasons, so they found, with an end around by at least issuing the outlooks 16 days earlier. So Joe Rayo is monitoring the chat board tonight, and we thank everybody for being on board this evening. Not a whole lot of weather going on, and I was always told by Mark Davison, who used to be the producer on the Today Show, the weather producer on the Today Show, when I worked there while I was in college, that you can't. There's always weather going on. You can never say there's no weather going on. But you know what I mean when I say there's no weather going on. We have no major storms. We just got a couple of weak waves. Most of the country's weather is going to be quiet over the next week. So for March, usually there's some big storm running around someplace. But I was kind of thinking, Joe, this is sort of like January, where when we got into January, everything just kind of shut down for a little while. Maybe the patterns love to repeat, so maybe we're going to be in this shutdown mode for the first half of the month, and then the second half of the month, everything's going to start revving up again. Can't stay like this forever.
Well, it may very well be rather balmy in the coming days. In fact, if you have a chance to click on the share screen button, I can give you
Oh, yeah, hang on one
a
second. And
thingy here.
you go ahead and share yourself away.
All righty, and while we're doing that, let's point out that why is this not working all of a sudden? Come on, let's go. There you go, and share. I want to show everybody. This is from the Climate Prediction Center. This is from the period running from March the 8th to March the 12th. This is their 6 to 10 day outlook. And I'd like to point out to you something that you don't often see on these probability maps is a 90% probability right here over the Great Lakes. 90% probability in that 8 to 12 March timeframe of above normal temperatures. And we here in our part of the country, Joe, well, actually in the tri-state area, because I know you're down here somewhere,
Yeah.
but up here, 75% probability of above normal temperatures. And that doesn't happen too often either. This implies, this is not set in stone, but to me, this implies that sometime during that interval from the 8th to the 12th of March, temperatures should reach the 60s and even have a chance in some spots in the tri-state area, and probably inland areas, west and north of the New York City area, away from the ocean influence, of maybe touching 70. And we're not talking,
Yeah.
weeks and weeks down the road. We're talking about the 8th to the 12th. We're talking about, well, next Monday is March the 8th. It's all of next week.
Right.
Supposedly all of next week will be unseasonably mild.
Let's see if we could take out the high from Christmas Eve, because
Yeah.
because that was in the 60s. Yeah, I agree with you, Joe. I mean, this time of year, you get into a warm flow of any kind, as long as you get enough sun and you don't get a bad wind, you easily can send temperatures up into the well, certainly the 50s, and I think this is a circumstance certainly for 60s. Would not be at all surprised if we see a 70-degree day there in the mix. And of course, everybody will act as if it never happened before, but we know that's nonsense. And
Take a look at the corresponding precipitation map that goes with that. Shows the entire Atlantic seaboard at or below, I should say, normal for precipitation. So that would suggest, at least according to the guys at Climate Prediction Center, that next week we're going to be seeing above normal temperatures, and we might just, maybe get through much of next week without a drop of rain or a flake of snow or a pellet of sleet,
Yeah,
believe it or not.
cold front looks like it comes along about what when Wednesday night, early Thursday on an early call, maybe a couple of showers with that. Even if that does materialize, I don't think it doesn't look to me like it's any kind of big weather maker. Go back to the temperature map. What was the probability? Because all the cold air obviously is west of the Rockies. I was just kind of curious, as they have the dark blue there in California, just what that probability was number wise
All right,
for the West
give
Coast.
me a chance here to get back on the share screen line here. Boom, boom. I love this share screen. This seems to envelop everybody from San Francisco on down through Sacramento, Los Angeles, barely touching San Diego. What's the percentage on that? That's 80%, Joe.
Yeah. Well, that's
80%
and
probability.
also by the way, Alaska is below average also. So it tells you where the flow is. You've got this. The trough is down somewhere in the west. The ridge is somewhere in the east, and you've got the cold the cold Canadian slash Arctic air is being funneled down from Alaska through Western Canada straight down into in and along the west coast. And that's going to be the signature pattern after this block breaks down, which it's going to do over the weekend. So we still have some chilly weather to get through, but this is going to verify. And after that, we'll see. The suggestion is that maybe we'll go back to something a little colder. I'm hesitant. At this point, we're past the mid-month period. So for you snow lovers, it gets harder and harder as each day passes for any kind of accumulating snow, but
I,
not impossible.
I just I just put up the 3 to 4 week outlook. This is the outlook that was put out last Friday for the 13th through the 26th of March. As you can see, it basically looks pretty much the same as the 6 to 10 day, in that much of the United States is under above normal conditions. 70%, for goodness sake, a stone's throw away to our west. And that that seems to indicate, Joe, that unless we have some kind of a wacky sudden flip here, that maybe, just maybe, we might have to wait until the end of March
Well,
before we have another chance.
either that or a window opens up for a couple of days. That's a long stretch of time, so you could still
Right.
verify that forecast and have 2 or 3 days where you wind up with some kind of setup. I'm again, this is just sort of openly speculating. There's nothing, I really don't, there's nothing that I could see in the cards at the moment. Meanwhile, going to take a look at what's going on right now. I've got the hazards map from the Weather Service with all the current temperatures and wind gusts and everything that goes along with it. I'm going to try to get this a little bit bigger so that you can, at least, unless you're watching this on a bigger screen, I know it's a little hard to see the numbers, but I will tell you that as far as wind gusts are concerned, we're still seeing some 20 to 30 mile an hour wind gusts off the Cape and southeast Cape Cod and southeast New England. Most of the inland wind gusts, I'm sorry, are pretty much from New York City east. You go west and south, there really isn't too much happening from the standpoint of wind. Seeing temperatures in the teens to around 20 across Vermont and New Hampshire, so it's very cold up there tonight. You head down closer to the coast, and temperatures are in the upper 20s to around 30. So we'll chill down, but I don't think the temperatures this morning. I noticed we were upper teens and low 20s. Wind chills were down near zero. I even punched up a few below zero readings in areas right along the coast where they were dealing with wind gusts up in the 40s. But just a cold night ahead, and I think we're gonna see the temperatures bounce rather quickly tomorrow. We should be able to push it up through the 40s rather quickly. And areas a little bit to the south, you get down into southern Pennsylvania, particularly down into Maryland and Virginia. Maybe see some temperatures up into the 50s tomorrow, but that would be a typical rebound in a situation like this. So there's nothing that really stands out here.
I think the city will have a run at 50 tomorrow. I think here in the Hudson Valley, middle and upper 40s not out of the question. When you consider that right here at the home
Homestead.
base, 29 degrees was our high temperature, and it was not we didn't have a single puff of cloud in the sky. This was an absolutely perfect, pristine, blue, sunny sky that we had today. And the breeze was, still active, but nothing to compare with last night. And hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to add, I'm not going to say a full 20, but 15 or 18 degrees to what we had today. That would be really nice.
Yeah, meanwhile, we do have this wave that's moving across the southeast and the Gulf states in the southeast and heading eastward with some rain. And it's actually got rather cold here. I have the fireplace going, and the forecast low here is 35 tonight with some rain showers. But just north of here, on the north in the North Carolina mountains, and also in some of the Tennessee mountains, forecasting maybe a little bit of mixed precip as this wave goes by. But you can see it's pretty clear across much of the Northeast now and back through the lower lakes and through all of the plains down into Texas and into the Southwest. And this is a forecast lows. Let me just see if I can get this. These were the highs for today. So these are the highs for tomorrow. I'll get a little closer here and just get the background a little darker so you can see it better. But yeah, the Weather Service going for 49 at LaGuardia, Islip 50, 53 for 55 for Philadelphia, 56 for Baltimore, 58 for Washington. Up the Hudson Valley, 42 for Albany tomorrow. Burlington 38. I do that for you, Bill Rogers, by the way. 42 in Concord, 47 for Boston. And head further south, you start to see some 60s. Now I should have a nice sunny day here. So you're going 61 for Atlanta. I'm at 58. The 58 that's up near the Georgia border. That's where I am. So, and again, I'm a little over 2,000 feet above sea level. Atlanta's 800 feet above sea level. I'm 2,000 up. So should have a nice day with sunshine. A lot of cloudy. One of the things about having spent some time here during this winter, I get a lot of cloudy days around here. The sun finally came out for about 2 hours this afternoon, but it's been cloudy much of the time. Here's the radar, the beautiful UCAR radar. And you can see the rain that is in southern Georgia. Some rain moving off the South Carolina coast this evening, down into southeastern Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, and also in northern Mississippi. All of that pushing to the east. And meanwhile, if you look around the rest of the country, there's hardly any precip to be found. There's a little bit of snow shower activity way up in upstate New York. And by the way, there was some major squalls that moved through parts of upstate New York, Joe, and also into parts of New England. Yesterday evening when the Arctic boundary moved on through. And
right.
It was very impressive from some of the videos that I saw today on Facebook.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that we'd get, a minor burst of snow with the frontal passage, but for the most part, it was just a few passing fast moving clouds. And then came the wind. And it was almost as if somebody flicked on a switch, Joe. I mean, it was amazing how within the span of just an hour, all of a sudden you just heard it just start roaring out there, and it didn't stop roaring all through the course of the night last night. And I'm lying in bed, and saying to myself, all right, when are the lights going to go? When are they going to go? When are they going to go? They never did, and very happy that was the case.
All right, well that's a good thing. All right, so let's bring up the surface map. Now this was from earlier today, so this was at 5 a.m. when the cold high was sitting in southeastern Michigan. I'll bring up the 21Z map, and that high has now made its way to eastern Virginia, eastern North Carolina. The gradient is still pretty tight, though, up across New Hampshire and Maine and in coastal New England because of the low that is sitting near the Gulf of St. Lawrence and heading on up toward the northeast. So that's going to pull out. And then, of course, we get this brief warm up. But here comes the next cold front that is setting up along the Canadian border, North Dakota into Minnesota. And the air up in Canada, again, is rather cold. But this shot is not going to be like the one we just went through, because we're not going to have an intensifying storm just to the northeast. The gradient is going to tighten a little bit, but it's not going to be anything crazy. and the air mass coming down will make things cold again, but only a little below normal, not a lot below normal, and that'll carry us, I think, into the weekend.
Well, this could carry over for quite some time. Again, we may be going into much, if not all, of next week without seeing very much in the way of precipitation. And
Well,
I
you
got to
could,
tell you something. After the month we went through in February, we could use that kind of a weather pattern here,
well, you see,
and especially.
yeah, no. I mean, you see a WPC's map, Joe. It's not often that you see the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states with no precip, but that's what you got. And what you see in upstate New York, that's probably going to be with some lake effect with the system for tomorrow night into Thursday. But I mean, go from there down into North Carolina, west to the Mississippi River and beyond, and up to the Great Lakes. The light green, just to give you perspective, that's 0.01. So if you want to talk about anything significant, you have to go into the darker greens, which is a quarter to a half an inch. So you can see that, yeah, in the southeast, because there's another wave that you got this wave going through tonight, because that's inside this time window here that starts at 7 o'clock, started at 7 o'clock this evening. There's another wave that's going to go through this area late week and head out to the northeast, well offshore. But other than that, I mean, really, it's quiet. The west is very active, though, with all that cold air that's going to be in the west. There's quite a bit of moisture showing up from Southern California, right up the coast, but particularly Central and Northern California, and then on up the coast of Oregon and Washington. Some big amounts right along the immediate coast, but then it cuts off, right at the mountains in the Cascades, and the other side in the rain shadow, getting no precip in Washington or minimal precip. For them, Oregon and down into Nevada and Idaho. A little bit of northern plains moisture too, but there's nothing here that is coming from anything major. Nothing.
Somebody on the chat board, who was it now? Is it blah 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 blah? Talking about my 40 inches. William Hubert, Joe R. 40 inches of snow does not look good for New York City. And I have something that was sent to me earlier today, Joe, by the chairman regarding this.
Okay.
And let me see if I can find it. He said, "Oh, here it is." This is from Mr. Briller. He said, "Joe, don't give up on your 1.4 inches in March at Central Park. Since 1869, Central Park has received at least 1.4 inches in March 102 times. 102 marches have had at least 1.4
Oh,
inches
that's
of
better
snow.
than a
According
coin
to
flip.
Chairman. Yeah, yeah. And he said, and don't forget the latest at least 1.4 inches fell in Central Park, 3 inches on April 25th, 1875. I'll really crack up if we go that deep into the season and still are seeing accumulating snow. Hey, what am I laughing at? We had snow on May the 9th of this year, so last year. So
By the way,
we'll see.
on the chairman also sent me this recap from the Weather Service for February from the Upton office. So the park's 26 is 16, more than 16 inches above average, and ranked as the 8th snowiest February on record. The snowiest was 36.9 in 2010. LaGuardia, 23.2, was 14.1 above average. 29.1 was the max in 2010. You guys can see this is actually pretty big on the screens. We should be able to read the numbers. But all of these numbers, Newark and Bridgeport, the two big winners. 30.6 in Newark, the third snowiest there. Also the third snowiest for Kennedy, and Bridgeport at 30.7 was the third snowiest for them. Their snowiest was 32.5 back in 2003. So definitely it was a February that I think was memorable for most, especially considering how quiet January was. And there was there was snow that last day of January. So by a couple of hours, that 26 could easily have been 20. I don't know what they got. I think it was less than 2 inches they fell before midnight. So it could have been 27 or 28. as far as the total is concerned, if my memory serves me, which it doesn't always do. So let's look at the upper air pattern because we do have a block. For snow lovers, unfortunately, you can see right here, there's higher pressures building back across Greenland. You've got a low that is moving near Newfoundland. This is our upper low that we're dealing with that brought in all the wind. You've got a cold flow coming out of Canada, and you've got this southern energy, and you've got more southern energy. But the problem is, now that upper low, Joe, goes out, and it just about gets to 50 and 50. So this is tomorrow night, and at this point, you could get a little excited if you're a snow lover because everything on the upper air looks like it's going in a favorable direction. Your 50-50 low, the block gets even stronger. You've got this southern stream energy now coming inland and getting ready to move east. You have a trough that's dropping down from the Gulf of Alaska that's allowing some ridging to build up in Western Canada. However, what happens? Well, that upper low, unfortunately for snow lovers, instead of kind of either staying there or maybe stretching out further to the east, rotates around and comes back. It actually retrogrades back into eastern Canada, creating a strong trough all the way down off the east coast. And now you see that southern energy. Okay, so now you got this, and here's your southern energy. Guess what? It's going to go straight east or even southeast. And that upper low is just so dominant that it overwhelms and suppresses everything. In fact, that surface low, Joe, is probably going to cross the state of Florida rather than, say, move off the Carolinas. It's that far south. And then once that pulls out, which it does because the block breaks down, we get into a nice little ridge here for early next week. It's not an overwhelming powerhouse ridge, but it's going to be enough to certainly warm things up. And then we've got a system coming in for Thursday. You can see it swinging there around the lakes. That'll cool it down a bit for the end of next week. After that, it's kind of interesting to me. The ridge sort of pops back up, but there's some. It looks to me like chess pieces are sort of being moved around here, trying to avoid the circle of death. It's only out at the end of the long range period. I mean, even here, though, I'm just looking at this is on the new run. I mean, you still have so much troughing in the west, and it's just one after another after another. The cold flow from Canada is kind of cut off. You do have ridging from Iceland trying to build back over the top into Greenland, but there's a lot of work to do with this upper air to get it to get it to something that would create a setup for accumulating snow. So I think we could probably safely say, Joe, for the next 2 weeks, that you ain't going to get your 1.4 inches in the next 2 weeks. Not happening.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. You're absolutely right. It isn't going to happen. Hopefully it will happen, but it certainly does not look it's going to happen in the foreseeable future, at least for the next couple of weeks.
So here's your wave for tonight. Moves out. Come on, circle of death. Load those maps up. Here we go. So that wave moves out to the east. It's hard to even find the cold front that's coming through here tomorrow night, but you see the big high that builds in for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Now here's your next low. This one is the one that gets suppressed. It completely falls apart. You see that rain down, some kind of low there that drops from Oklahoma into the western Gulf, moves through the central Gulf, over the state of Florida, and then practically in the northern Bahamas. That's how suppressed this thing is. And that goes out. The only thing what that low does accomplish is that it delays the warm-up, because until that gets out of the way, the high can't get out of the way. So finally, I think on Sunday, we're going to start to see that high. You see how it jumps, folks, from being north of Lake Superior, and then all of a sudden it migrates down to the Virginia, North Carolina coast, much like this one does. But there's no real front behind it. Instead, this time the ridge actually strengthens, and that west-southwest to southwest flow develops. Will warm up nicely. I think we said earlier Tuesday, I'm thinking we could see temperatures make a run into the 60s, and definitely on Wednesday. Wednesday night, early Thursday, or later Thursday, a cold front comes through with some showers, and then it turns a little colder behind it, but nothing especially cold for Friday and Saturday. GFS wants to take a big load of the lakes. I think the European did something similar to this. You see it there that it runs up from Colorado up to Lake Superior, and then it sort of redevelops off the New England coast and then moves on out. And then after that, it turns chilly for a day or two, and then we, maybe start the process all over again. This might be this might not so much this one. There probably will be some thunderstorms to deal with this from the standpoint of severe weather. Maybe next week on Thursday on the southern end of this, but I'm not.
So far we've had almost near record low tornado activity. Although, if you look at what you would normally would expect during a La Nina late winter and spring, that would seem to indicate a high number of tornadoes. So maybe activity has been squelched till now, but perhaps in the coming weeks we'll see a sudden upturn. The increase in activity will rise at a precipitous rate. We'll see what happens, but it has been very. I think that the National Weather Service or the Storm Prediction Center has only issued 13 or
13.
14 tornado watches so far this season.
Yeah.
Abnormally low.
Yeah, and it should. Eventually, it will pick up. Now, if the GFS is correct, I think this would probably qualify for some kind of severe episode in the long range. But we're already past 10 days out, so who knows if this is going to be correct. The West, though, does get its fair share of activity through all of this, and not a surprise because of the deep troughing in the West. So we'll probably see chances for snow in the western U.S. and then also translating eventually into the Rockies and on up into the northern plains. The months of March and April are actually snowier months in the Rockies than January and February. Usually the jet is too far south at that time of year. Either that or they're in a ridge position and we're getting buried. But the more active snow months are March and April are actually quite active snow months out in the western part of the United States. And certainly the GFS implies with the troughing mostly in the west that they are definitely going to have their opportunities for that. So, that pretty much kind of wraps up all the weather stuff tonight. I mean, there's not much more we can really say other than the fact that we only have 69 likes. And we like to keep our streak of 100 going. So if you haven't hit the thumbs up button, here's your opportunity to hit the thumbs up button so we can keep that streak of 100 likes going.
Well, Steve Lapointe sent me something on my Facebook page. It was either last night or this morning saying that streak was broken, that we did not hit 100 yesterday.
We didn't? Hold on. I can check that. Give me a moment. I can pull up my videos and my video library and take a look.
And he put the blame on me because he said it was because you didn't call for people to hit the like button. I'm sorry, Steve.
Well, it's quite possible. I thought I saw it last night that we were over 100, or maybe I was looking at the wrong number, which I always tend to do that. Let's see.
Well, we have 86 right now, ladies and gentlemen.
No, Joe, we had
we did get more than 100 yesterday?
Let's see. I'm looking. No, we did not. 87. That broke the streak. 87.
There you go.
But we had
started a new streak. We're up to 89 now. So, ladies and gentlemen, did you find it in your heart to hit the like button?
So we could start the streak again.
Yes. Well, even DiMaggio ended at 56. I think after he ended his 56 game hitting streak, he was stopped, and then he started another streak, which went for like 30 some odd games. So let's start another one. 91 likes.
All right. So while you're doing that, I will bring up Briller Jeopardy so that we can check out. We can do that. So are you sitting down?
Vale, I'm not sure which Joe he's asking this question to, but Justin Vale says, Joe, when do you believe it will be time to finally say winter has come to an end. Never!
We never throw in the towel.
We didn't
I
throw
don't
in the towel.
understand. Just to go back on that, I don't understand this obsession with some people wanting to throw in the towel. I mean, it just, there's just so many times where you do that and you wind up getting burned and you wind up getting a surprise. More often than not, you do. So, I was told that after the big storm of February, that was, winter was over, and then we had a 6-inch event, and then I was told that it was over after that. And then Monday happened, where it didn't happen on the coast, but inland got a bit of a surprise, several inches. So you never know. You could still get a setup that opens up an opportunity. Nobody's that good in the long range to tell you that it's over with. It just
I used to do a
isn't.
radio station in the 1980s in Huntington, Long Island, WGSM 740 on your
Yes.
AM radio dial. And I did the morning show with Jim Ferguson. And it was about this time each year that Jim would say, Joe, are we safe yet? In other words, in other words, can we take the snow tires off? Which of course nobody does anymore now with radial
Right.
tires and whatever. But he was always, I said, no, no, no. And then there would be sometime like in late March or April. I'd say, yes, take them off. Yes, we're safe. We're not going to have
Well, I
any.
don't understand, Joe. I don't understand. Some people treat snow like it's coming out of the sky, like it's battery acid. For Christ's sake, I mean,
Yeah.
it melts. It goes away eventually. Anyway, here are the questions. So you ready? Briller Jeopardy on this Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. These are all actual. I'm sorry, I just heard a voice.
Hello. I just wanted to point out, yes, at the end of the show yesterday, you were well over 100 at the very end.
That's what I thought. But my
And as somebody pointed out on the chat board, generally spring snowstorms come after a week or two of mild weather.
Thank you so much. It's so nice that you're so supportive of Renata. Appreciate it. Now, Joe, tonight's Briller Jeopardy for Tuesday are actual Final Jeopardy questions. So, it is the only country that borders the Caspian Sea and the Persian Gulf. Do 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 do.
Turkey?
No, sorry.
I'm not going to say Malta because I know Malta is like an island or something.
Unless you're
I
having
don't know.
unless you're having a chocolate Malta.
No.
No. No, the correct answer is, I'll give you another shot. This nation is always in the news.
See, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat.
No. Come on. We're always having squabbles with this nation.
I have no even no. I'm not gonna cheat.
The Shah. Fill in the blank. The Shah of.
Iran.
Thank you, Iran. Yes. Who is the only man to be named Time Magazine's Man of the Year 3 times?
Oh. 3 times?
3 times.
Who's the guy who played the president in Air Force One?
It's not an actor.
It's not an actor?
No, but it is a president.
A president? 3 times he was named Man of the Year?
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump?
No.
Oh, all right.
3 times.
Adolf Hitler.
No, our president, for God's sake.
Oh, our president. Ronald Reagan.
No, the answer is FDR.
FDR.
Yeah. This plane's
December 7th, 1941.
will live in infamy.
They live in infamy. What was the name of the president? What was the name of FDR's dog? It was a Boston Terrier.
I can see the Boston Terrier in front of me, but I don't remember.
If you go up to Hyde Park, which is not too far away from where I am, where they have like the FDR Museum. You can actually see a
Excuse me.
statue. It looks like he's draped in a cape, and right at his feet is the dog. Four letter name.
Uh,
Starts with an F.
with an F? Be
Yeah.
careful. This is a family show.
No, it's not that
No, I know.
really.
I understand. Fred.
No.
Uh, I don't know. Tell
David
me.
Schwartz was Fala.
What is it?
Fala. Fala. Fala.
Oh,
That was
Fowler.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Uh,
Betsy Luna, Timothy Veltman, Christopher Bear, all said Fido, which
okay.
does make a way of sense here.
Yeah.
Christopher Bear also said Fifi.
Right. Fred was the name of the dog on what Little Ricky named his dog on I Love Lucy.
Right,
Right.
right.
This plains capital only has a population of 14,000.
This plains capital?
Yes, and you know this one because you were humiliated on the air by the after your first appearance, after your first show, because you mispronounced it.
Oh,
Right,
Pierre,
Pierre.
South Dakota, South Dakota.
Okay. What is the
I said Pierre.
okay. This national capital is closest to the Arctic Circle.
Oh, a national capital. Well, it can't be. Oh, wait a minute. Well, it has to be something like in Finland or Helsinki,
No,
Oslo, Oslo,
no,
Norway. No,
no.
Reykjavik.
Reykjavik, yes.
Yes.
Okay, and the final question tonight is the 1995, 2003, and 2006 winners for Best Actor all appeared in this 1982 teen comedy, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
It would have to be Sean Penn, right?
Um, oh, I'm sorry. No, hold on. I misread this. The answer is the movie. The answer that was looking for was the movie. The movie is Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Right.
So I should have read the question. Is the 1995, 2003, 2006 winner for best actor all appeared in this 1982 teen comedy? The answer is Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So having not
Right.
seen the movie, you said Sean Penn. I'm guessing Tom Hanks maybe in there.
No, Tom Hanks was not in Fast Times at
Not
Ridgemont.
in there.
You know who was in that? You know who was in that movie? Ray Walston.
Oh yes, no. Now actually, I'm sorry. I did see it a long time ago. Now that you reminded me, yes, he played a teacher in there
Yes. Yes, he did.
for My Favorite Martian.
My favorite Martian, indeed.
Do do do
He
do
was in a.
do 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 do
Dum,
do
dum, dum,
do
dum,
do 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 do
dum,
do
dum,
do.
dum,
Hey Ruben, we're
What was
talking
the show?
old shows again.
What was the show that? Yeah, he was Mr. Hand in that in Fast Times at Ridgemont. What was the show that he appeared? Picket Fences. Was that the name of the show that he finished his career with?
I believe so.
Ray
Yes,
Walston.
he was also in one of my favorite movies. Oddly enough, Fred MacMurray was in this movie, and Jack Lemmon was in it too. The Apartment and Shirley MacLaine. Now, Best Picture 1960, directed by Billy Wilder.
Right.
Have you ever seen that?
I've seen bits and pieces
It's a
of that
very
movie.
dark movie. I mean, it's kind of a dark comedy slash drama. Um, it's about so Jack Lemmon works for works for this company, and he's like an accountant at this company, and he's single and he has an apartment, and he loans out. He gives the key to the apartment to the executives who bring they're all married, and they bring their girlfriends to the apartment. Okay, and anyway, Jack Lemmon meets you know the Shirley MacLaine who runs the elevator in the building, but is also having an affair with Fred MacMurray. So it's all the sort of intertwined. Yeah, it's a great movie. It really is. The acting in it is just superb. And here's another instance of Fred MacMurray playing a really, not a very nice person. Okay, by any stretch of the by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, getting back to this morning with the episode with Zsa Zsa Gabor, I mean, he really came down hard on Ernie because the cops apparently were looking for him. They didn't know where he was, and there was that scene between the two of them, and you could see that Fred MacMurray on My Three Sons was not always the happy-go-lucky, benevolent father. This particular scene, he really was coming down on Ernie and did not believe what Ernie was telling him. And then all of a sudden, when Zsa Zsa appeared, it was like you flipped the coin around and you saw the whole different side of Fred MacMurray. And in fact, Fred MacMurray tells Zsa Zsa, he says, "Oh, Miss Gabor," he said, "I want to just tell you, you've been one of my favorites for many years." And like Zsa Zsa looks at him and says, "Well, thank you, darling, I think."
Well, then of course there's her sister Ava. "This has been a Filmways presentation, darling."
In fact, in Green Acres, Ava Gabor tells somebody, it wasn't Eddie Albert, but it was somebody else who says, the only thing I was able to do, the only thing I was noted for when I came here to this country was doing my Zsa Zsa Gabor imitation.
Ava, at least, she did a couple of movies, and she was in a couple of movies in the 50s, including An American in Paris with Elizabeth Taylor and Van Johnson, and there were a few others that she was in supporting roles, small supporting roles. Although in that particular one, in American in Paris, her role was an important supporting role. But yeah, I don't remember seeing Zsa Zsa in any big movie. She was
No, I don't either.
Yeah, she was married briefly to George Saunders, who was one of the Mr. Freezes on Batman.
Yeah. Let's not get started on Batman.
Otherwise, we're going to have to talk about Cesar Romero in the William Conrad directed movie Two on a Guillotine. Oh my God, John, that movie was terrible.
I'm a big fan of old time radio, and Egghead, who was played by Vincent Price.
He was exceptional.
Yes, but he was an exception. He was on a radio show called The Saint, and did a pretty darn good job of playing the role of a dapper undercover.
And Vincent Price did a lot of, he did a lot in the 40s and 50s. He was in Laura, also on my list of favorite movies, with Dana Andrews and Gene Tierney, and oh my God, he's right in front of me. Oh, I can't believe I forgot. Clifton Webb. Clifton Webb. Clifton Webb is the male Thelma Ritter. Okay, no one could deliver a line with a line that has a knife in it. When the words have a knife and can really like hurt somebody. Nobody could do it better and deliver sarcasm better than Clifton Webb. And he was in the Mr. Belvedere movies from the 50s, from the late 40s, early 50s. So if you've never seen the original Mr. Belvedere movies, I recommend the first two. I haven't seen the third one. Never saw the third one, but the first two. But he was hilarious. No one could deliver sarcasm better than Clifton Webb. In fact, Noel Coward, Clifton Webb lived with his mother, and this was sort of like notorious in Hollywood that Clifton Webb was fanatically devoted to his mother, and he lived with her. And when she died, Noel Coward, the playwright, said about Clifton Webb, he said, "It's a terrible tragedy to be orphaned at the age of 73.
In his later years, to me, Clifton Webb looked a little bit like Leo G. Carroll. Remember from Tampa?
Yeah, Yeah,
Not so
yeah.
actually eyes.
Listen, Clifton Webb he was in the Razor's Edge, another excellent movie, also with Gene Tierney in it, and Tyrone Power, and Ann Baxter, who got an Oscar for a supporting actress Oscar for her role in that movie. Um,
And another movie was Sitting. Did you mention this? Sitting Pretty.
Sitting
With
Pretty, well, that with Robert Young and Maureen O'Hara. Oh, that movie's
yes,
hilarious.
yes.
That movie is hysterical.
In fact, um, Sitting Pretty and The Razor's Edge and Laura. I think all three of those movies were nominated for Oscars.
Right. Clifton Webb got I think, Sitting Pretty. No, Razor's Edge, he got his first Oscar nomination for. And I believe he got an Oscar nomination for Sitting Pretty also. He was also, when they redid the Titanic in 1954 with Barbara Stanwyck, he played Barbara Stanwyck's husband in that movie. So if you've seen that version of the sinking of the Titanic, he's
That the one, A Night to Remember,
no, that was the British a Night to
the
Remember,
British version.
the British,
Yeah,
which was very good. I mean,
yeah.
that's a very good version um, of the sinking of the Titanic. If you haven't seen it, great movie, great movie.
Right.
So anyway, I think we covered the gambit tonight. So let's we
We
shall.
must we must we must correct the executive producer who was not in on the conversation that you and I had before we went on. The My wife posted on the chat board, "Okay, good night to all. The guys will be on a little later on tomorrow evening. Slight schedule change.
Yes.
Not we're going to make another schedule change. We're not going to be if you're going to be waiting for us tomorrow. You're going to be having a long wait.
Yeah, no show tomorrow, folks, because Joe's got something to do, and since the weather's kind of quiet, we'll just take the night off, and we'll be back on Thursday. So, but if there were weather going on tomorrow night, we would be here for sure. So the Joe
If
and
you're in,
go ahead,
if
go
you're
ahead, Joe.
interested, I'm giving a talk. I'm giving a talk for the actually it's two libraries, Joe. It's for the Peekskill Field Library
Hang on, let
and
me
the
bring you back
Ossining
up. Say,
Library.
go ahead.
And let's see, can any of you see this? Well, you know what? I'm going to post this on my Facebook page. This is for tomorrow night. I'm talking about the science of astrometeorology. Can we connect the sun and the moon and the planets, their motions, their effects on the Earth with climate, and can we also make weather forecasts? You know, you see these long-range forecasts for the Farmer's Almanac. Right? Anyway, I'm going to give a talk for these libraries. It's tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. If you go on either the Peekskill Library or the Ossining Library site on Facebook, I guess, or on their website, you probably can sign on and get a Zoom link to my talk. It's 7 o'clock tomorrow night. I'll be on Zoom and doing a talk for those libraries, and that's why we're not going to be here tomorrow night, because rather than go straight into Joe and Joe after I finish the talk, we just said the weather is very quiet, so the heck with it.
All right, correct. The Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs when the holidays come. Or maybe you want to do this as a business, give them a call at 631-957-5106. That's Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini. liholidaylighting.com is the website. And get ready for spring. They got mulch over at Omni True Value Hardware. They'll be making it, and also they've got gravel, topsoil, and everything you need to get your yard in ship shape for the summer. 631-756-1125 for the best prices in town. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, and their number is their website is omnitruevalue.com. I gave the phone number already, so omnitruevalue.com is the website. So, okay, so you have fun at your library talks tomorrow. We will see you, folks, we'll see you back on Thursday at 7:30 Eastern Time. Thursday. Good night, everybody.
Nighty night.